and welcome back. You are joining us again in the daily bulletin of Into Vietnam, brought to you by VITV channel in Today Headlines. The Moody upgrades Vietnam rating to B1 with stable outlook. Bad debts are still obstacle for credit growth. And Nelson says Vietnam's consumer sentiment index in the second quarter decreases slightly to 98. The Moody Investor Service raised Vietnam credit rating for the first time in nearly 2 years on Tuesday to B1 with stable outlook, citing improving macroeconomic stability and a stronger position in its balance of payments. The Moody said Vietnam was pumped up a level midway through a third year of macroeconomic stability, with inflation under 7.5% for 26 straight months until July and real GDP growth averaging 5.3%. The upgrade will be a big boost for Vietnam at a critical time as competition for foreign investment heats up among other regional manufacturing or export-led emerging market economies. Moody said banks were now operating in a more stable environment, although the sector was still undercapitalized and NPLs remain a risk. It also commented the State Bank of Vietnam said NPL were at 4.03% in April, up from 3.93% in March and 3.61% in December 2013. Moody said the NPLs and SOEs may continue to hamper progress. Also in the day, Moody's Investor Service raised the long-term issuance of foreign and domestic currencies for two Vietnamese state banks, VietNam and VITV, with a stable outlook. The agency maintained the short-term issuance ratings and the independence rating of the banks. Moody's analyzed its move shows higher appreciation over the deposit ratings of VietNam and VITV. In the meantime, the agency maintained the ratings of 7 private banks in the country, including ACB, MBB, SHB, STB, VIB, VP Bank, and Techcombank. It reasoned the likelihood of system support over deposit in commercial banks are lower than that in state credit institutions. More than 50 trillion dong of bad debts has been purchased by the VMC with high provision. However, the bad debt situation in banks hasn't improved much. According to the State Bank's announcement, the bad debt ratio of the whole banking system hit nearly 5%, which puts lots of pressure on the goal of credit growth set by the bank in 2014.
Among the debt groups, the potentially irrecoverable debts or debts of Group 5 of commercial banks are on the upward trend. In Techcombank, bad debts in Q1 2014 hit more than 2.1 trillion dong, in which the potentially irrecoverable debts was 1.1 trillion dong, up from 1.45% in the end of 2013 to 1.86% at the end of March 2014. Similarly, VITV's Group 5 debts accounted for the largest proportion, with 68.9% of the total bad debts. Vietcombank is in the top of the banks with large amount of irrecoverable debts due to the large scale of lending. In the first quarter of the year, this group of debts in Vietcombank increased 267 billion dong from the beginning of the year to reach 3 trillion dong, accounting for 41.3% of the total bad debts.
Qua thì chúng ta có rất nhiều biện pháp và nỗ lực để mà xử lý cái vấn đề nợ xấu. Nó không chỉ là cái việc lập VAMC mà cả việc lành mạnh hóa hệ thống ngân hàng, rồi thì buộc các ngân hàng phải trích lập rủi ro dự phòng. Tuy nhiên thì mức độ nợ xấu là hiện nay vẫn còn là nghiêm trọng. Dù là các cách đo lường thì nó khác nhau.
Bad debts is not a strange term. However, with the high growth in the past time, it causes concerns. Many years ago, the real estate sector and state-owned enterprises were the biggest output of the commercial banks. At present, when there's no big fluctuation on the market and some key law cases have been brought to the court, a large number of commercial banks don't dare to disperse capital as much as before. That's the reason why from the beginning of 2014 until now, the index of credit investment has been a low level.
Lượng nợ xấu khổng lồ như vậy nhưng mà chỉ có vào khoảng 500 tỷ thì muối bỏ bể. Mà cái thứ hai là hiện nay với cái cách thức như chúng ta làm chẳng qua là gom nợ mà làm đẹp sạch cái bảng kế toán, bảng cân đối tài chính của các ngân hàng thương mại, các tổ chức tín dụng. Cho nên với cái cách thức hiện nay thì tôi nghĩ là khó có khả năng giải quyết được vấn đề nợ xấu, mà hiện nay nợ xấu vẫn là một cục máu đông mà đang cản trở rất là lớn, mà trong tháng gần đây chúng ta thấy rằng diễn biến cái số nợ xấu lại có chiều hướng gia tăng.
Reducing bad debts and increasing credit investment for the economy are the daily tasks and the most important responsibility of the banking sector. However, at the moment, the bad debt ratio is up to 5%, while the credit growth is only 3%. Therefore, it's difficult to fulfill the goal of 12 to 14% of credit growth this year.
Trước đây thì chúng ta khi bắt đầu vào khủng hoảng ấy, thì các doanh nghiệp là rất lao đao, rất khó khăn. Nhưng bây giờ trong một thời gian thực hiện và nó đang có cái vận hành thì bây giờ là lúc khó khăn nhất của các ngân hàng. Vì sản xuất nó đang co lại, khả năng đưa vốn ra rất ít, khả năng thu nợ rất khó, cái nợ xấu nó tăng lên rất cao. Cho nên đây là nó làm cho cái chi phí ngân hàng tăng rất nhanh, lợi nhuận giảm xuống và cái khả năng phát triển rất khó khăn. Đấy là những cái thách thức rất lớn của ngân hàng hiện nay. Mà thời gian này cũng là thời gian khó của tất cả các ngân hàng thương mại, hay nói rộng ra là các tổ chức tín dụng.
The report released by the state audit a week ago provided the bad debt data of the banking system in 2012. Accordingly, the bad debt ratio on December 31st, 2012 hit 4.08%, and as of June 30, 2013, the bad debt ratio of 2/3 of commercial banks all went up from the end of 2012. The bad debt problem was mentioned once again in the context of stronger credit growth. The debts in the past remain unsold, while new credit hardly go up.
According to a recent survey conducted by Nelson, Vietnam's Consumer Sentiment Index in the second quarter of 2014 experienced a slight decrease from the previous one to 98 points. Volatility in financial sector is one of the causes of the decline.
According to the survey, the index of consumer sentiment in Vietnam fell slightly in the second quarter of 2014 from the previous quarter. In the context of concerns about finance and jobs in the next 12 months increased, only 44% of the respondents felt that jobs would be better in the future, while more than half said positively about their financial situation. However, these two categories are lower than the regional average, with 65% and 62% respectively. In addition, only 38% of the people interviewed said it was good or very good for shopping at the time being, lower than the regional average of 42% and the neighboring countries in the region such as Thailand, 47%, and Philippines, 50%, but still higher than Singapore, 37%, and Malaysia, 29%. The survey results showed that although consumers in the Southeast Asia are the world's most optimistic, the purchasing power is lower in recent months amid political instability and rising food prices in the region.
A recent survey reveals that 70% of German businesses operating in Vietnam hold a positive outlook on the economy in 2014 and are sanguine on prospects for continued buoyancy in the upcoming year. The results of the survey made public on July the 29th by the German ASEAN Chamber Network reflect the opinions of German invested businesses operating in industry 48%, services 35%, businesses 9%, consultancy 6%, and auditing 3%. The survey shows that 50% of the respondents report overall improved success in the past year, and this positive outlook is being translated into ongoing plans to invest and recruit. Over 60% of the business plan to expand their workforce over the next 12 months. However, 70% of the companies surveyed reported they find it extremely burdensome to locate qualified engineers, while 46% said it's essential for the country to develop a better skilled workforce. Ho Chi Minh City posted its total retail sales and service revenues of $15.8 billion in the first 7 months, up 12.8% on year. The information was announced by the Municipal Planning and Investment Department. In the 7-month period, the city is estimated to post a trade surplus of $2.3 billion. The city's exports are likely to have increased by 3.5% on year to $16.4 billion, while its import could drop 8% to $14.14 billion. Vietnam's international arrival numbers rose again in July after falling for 2 consecutive months to set a 4.6% on-month increase. Nearly 565,000 foreign tourists arrived in the country in the month, bringing the total number of arrivals in the first 7 months to about 4.85 million, rising 15.6%. The number of tourist arrivals from Hong Kong saw a 111.3% rise, followed by Russia, Laos, and China. The country expects to receive about 8 to 8.3 million foreign visitors and serve 37.5 million domestic ones this year, generating about $113 billion. In an attempt to attract more foreigners to the country and provide them with better services during their stay here, the Ministry of Agriculture, Sport and Tourism has proposed extension of the duration of visa exemption for Russia tourists from 15 to 30 days. Vietnam is also applying the 30-day visa exemption for citizens from 9 out of the 10 ASEAN member nations and other 7 nations. And now the program will wrap up with local gold prices, forex and securities markets. Well, that's the news on VITV. Thank you so much for the time with us. We'll see you soon and goodbye for now.